Hey, this is Elliott, just doing a quick little intro for the pod. We recorded this a couple months ago, so now that we're closer to releasing it, just doing some updated dates. If you want to come see us live, Arijana will be, if you're listening the week that this comes out, she will be in San Diego the 15th through the 18th, doing a whole slew of shows, so go check that out. Also, March 16th, she will be up in Seattle, headlining at the Hereafter, and I will also be there opening. So come on out to that, say hi, pack it out. It's going to be a great time. Hometown show. Gotta love it. It's going to be a blast and a half, to be honest. But we'll charge you for one blast. I might cut that out. I will be up in Seattle towards the end of this month on the 25th, opening for Steph Tolev at the Hereafter. But tickets are already sold out for those shows, so if you didn't get one, maybe some will open back up closer, or you can find someone who's not able to go and get one of theirs. But I don't know, that's going to be a good time. But I might hop on some shows the 23rd and 24th as well, so just kind of follow me on Instagram, and I'll post about it there, keep it updated, or check out elliottgb.com. For Arijana's shows, arianaramic.com. And for Devin's Yeti shows, Yeti for Real on Instagram. Also, all this information will be in the description if you're watching on YouTube, or just go to our social media links, and should all be in there, I think. I don't know. Also, heads up, when we recorded this, forgot an extra mic cord. So Arijana and I are sharing a mic, so some words get cut off. And also, I was a double dingus and forgot new batteries for the recorder, so it does die at some point, but that is only towards the very end of the episode. So the last 3-4 minutes, we had to go off of the camera audio, which means it's a little wonky, but you can still get it. It sounds like we're underwater, but it's fun. Hey, mixing it up. What's up with these podcasts all sounding so good? Give me one that sounds bad. But so just a heads up on that. Last 3 or 4 minutes are a little wonky. Go check out our sites, come see us live, tell a friend about the podcast. Follow the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, long live the podcast, and it's Super Bowl Sunday, so go Birds and Chiefs. I don't know, whoever. I hope they all have fun. I hope you have fun. Bye. Thank you.
All right, let's get it going. Let's do it. All right. Hi, I'm Arijana.
And I'm Elliott.
And this is Burning the Light. We have to share a mic today, so be patient with us. But this is the podcast where we tell you the wildest, cringiest, and most salacious stories from people's time in comedy. Today, we have a very special guest, an improviser, a stand-up comedian, and a writer, jack of all trades. It's Devin Field. Pew, 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 pew.
I had to do a turn to
Pan
the
to camera. Hey.
I think this is the first time I've been filmed on a podcast. So
oh, really? Oh, I guess we should warn people. You look great.
Thank you so much.
No, I haven't been telling you.
Yeah, you should tell people it's a video podcast.
It's important to tell people.
Yeah, I mean, you looked great when you
Thank
walked in.
you.
You had a nice jacket on, some
Thank
cool
you.
sunglasses.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, it was a nice outfit.
Thank
I was
you.
like, this man shops at J. Crew.
That's almost exclusively where I shop.
Do you really?
Yeah, a while ago I was packing for a trip, and I realized I had like 6 versions of the exact same J. Crew shirt, just in different shades and different fabrics.
Yeah.
But it's like all the same, like J. Crew button down. I'm like, I gotta branch out. This is terrible.
That's a comedian's capsule wardrobe.
100%.
That's what it is. Same shirt, just like also same jacket.
Yep.
Sometimes different pants, and that's it. Yeah.
There's a J. Crew shirt that I have that someone on my improv team has, and so I will occasionally. I just did this last week. I texted him a couple hours before our show, "Are you wearing our shirt tonight?" Because I was like,
it's our collective shirt.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm going to wear it, and we can't both be wearing it, so
brilliant.
Let me know.
Absolutely brilliant. I do feel like a lot of people in LA, Elliott and I have talked about this, but a lot of people have a look here.
Sure.
Do you feel that's true?
Well, I feel that's true just in a sense of, I just feel like people are very fashionable here.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me because I don't feel abreast of current fashion trends.
Oh, you're a classic guy. We saw the outfit. You have a ring on your index finger. Come on, a watch. That's an accessory.
There you go. That's it. That's all you need. Yeah, it's no, but it like just yesterday I was over at a coffee shop in this neighborhood, and the hippest looking guy in this coffee shop had like Gucci sunglasses,
incredible,
and Goodyear shoes.
Unreal.
And so I was like,
I've seen those.
I was like, this
Wait,
is
what are Goodyear shoes?
like it's
the
the tire brand. I saw the name and it's like the logo of the tire company, and they just looked like they were like black, the kind of like chunky sneakers that are sort of hip, like somewhere between like Yeezys and Reeboks and Fila's.
Wait, I love that. Somewhere between a Yeezy and a Reebok, there's Goodyear.
There's Goodyear. Yeah. And so I was like, what the fuck is this that this person is wearing like a top fashion brand sunglasses and then a tire brand shoe?
I love that.
And it's cool.
That's
so I don't
be.
understand what people are doing.
It's interesting. It's an interesting time. May I hold? Thank you. It is an interesting time where this literally happened not that long ago. I was driving down the street and I was like, damn, that person's got some fucking drip.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are looking good. And it was like a 70-year-old man.
Yeah.
Just slowly walking down.
Yes.
And it was like they got the what is it, like the Asics or the New Balance?
Uh-huh.
They got the big chinos, the big jacket, and like a big hat. And I was like, damn, they're fucking styling. Yeah. And then they're just like,
they can barely move their hips. Yeah, I mean, pants are large now. That's what's going on. That I can identify
Jinkos are
as a
coming
trend.
back.
Yeah. This person wearing the Goodyear shoes had jeans that I thought might have been Jinkos. They were so wide and large.
I'm imagining this outfit right now. My God.
He looked great.
That's incredible.
I will ask, is that a Target shirt?
Because
I think I have the same
No,
one.
this is not merino menswear. This is, in fact, J. Crew.
I mean, they should sponsor you at this point.
And the pants, J. Crew.
Amazing. Incredible. Well, we're so excited to have you here. I know you're meeting Elliott for the first time as well. We met when you did a show in Seattle, which was really fun. I think our pal Bo Johnson put it on.
That's correct.
And
comedy impresario Bo Johnson.
I know. He's like the what's that? The Magic Megorium of
Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium.
Yeah, that's him in the comedy world. Yeah, we met and you were so funny and you had this amazing joke about ancient aliens that just really tickled me.
Thank you.
If you're listening, look it up because I was like,
it's online.
Oh, man.
It's available.
Yeah, it was one of those jokes where I was like kind of mad that I didn't write it. Like, you know what I mean?
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. It's one that I wish I'd written. I wish I had written a joke that good since then, but I haven't really. It's one where I look back on it and kind of go, damn, I don't know if it got better than that.
That one and the is it the GTA joke, the Grand Theft Auto? I mean, those really took me out.
Thank you. That one's not online, so you just have to find me.
I know, you got to see him live.
You gotta come see me live.
Elliott, that one's in the game.
That one's in the game.
GTA.
Yeah, you got to log on. It's if you do Saints Row online, you can see that.
No, I mean you were so funny,
thank you.
Then
you too.
Thank you. Yeah, but I then we were just chatting backstage, and you were just also the nicest guy, and I was like, I don't want to say it's rare because there are nice people in comedy, but I was like, this guy is very good, and he has credits, and he just came in so humble, and it was so refreshing.
That's very nice of you to say.
No, it was really great, and I was like, oh, Devin's so nice, and so we were like, let's have him on the pod, and luckily you were willing to
I'm available.
But I actually don't know, how did you start comedy? Like, how long have you been doing it? Because now you kind of do everything, and you're a writer, so you're kind of in it in a lot of different pockets, so it's probably changed for you since you've started as well.
Well, I started stand-up when I was a freshman in high school. So when I was like 15
Where?
In Seattle.
They let you do it?
Barely. I did it a little bit at Giggles on Roosevelt, but mainly it was my high school, Roosevelt High School, had shout out to Rough Riders.
FDR.
TDR.
Oh, I'm sorry. I fucked that up.
Okay.
Oh.
Although, was his middle name Delano? I don't think so.
I don't know. Is it really?
Teddy Delano.
So from now on.
Yeah. You give it to the guy who knows.
We want to cut down on those
although I'm almost 100% sure Teddy's middle name was not Delano. But we'll find out afterwards which one of us has any idea what we're talking about.
I'll dub it in. Okay. I'm pretty sure his name was Doug.
Okay. They had a teacher in the language arts department there put on like once a month what they called an open mic night at night at like 6:30 at night in a classroom. And they were cool. It was mainly for like singer-songwriter kids to like do a terrible ballad. But it was me and my friend Sean McCarthy, who has since then moved to New York and done stuff. I haven't seen him in a long time, but he was a year ahead of me. And so I started seeing him do stand-up at these open mic nights that I was just going to because my brother was older and was going to some of them. And so I was like, oh, I guess high schoolers can just do stand-up comedy. And so I just started doing it there. And then from there, once I was like a senior in high school, I was doing it at like Giggles and like maybe another room or two around Seattle if I could.
Yeah. Which I always find so like funny because a lot of time, like when I hear people start comedy really young, I'm like, oh, your parents probably had to drive you unless it was like at school or something.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Like I think, well, yeah, since it was at school,
yeah,
I think I just took the bus there.
Yeah, or like I don't know if Giggles made you have like a parent or something, or maybe if it was early in the night. Yeah.
I think by the time
that checks out.
Yeah, they didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
By the time I was there, I think I was like 17 or something. So they
Okay,
just like
yeah.
you can't drink, but you can come
Fair.
in and like do stuff.
God.
But I wasn't there too much. But then I came down here to LA for college.
Yeah.
And kind of kept things going up there. And there was a college comedy competition at the Laugh Factory.
Okay.
When I was like a sophomore, that was a USC versus UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
Which school is funnier competition.
Okay.
Yeah. Really good shit. And I won that the first year they did it.
Nice. I'm like, all right, this is lame, but then you won,
then
and I was
won.
like,
And so I was like,
all right,
okay.
yeah.
And that kind of helped me like get just a little bit of a toe in like the LA stand-up world.
Yeah.
And then I just like kept doing and that in college was when I started doing improv too. I was on one of the long form kind of UCB style improv teams at USC, and that a lot of people from that team ended up going on to doing stuff like I've done at UCB. So both of those things kind of were working at the same time, so that by the time I graduated, I was just doing open mics and stand-up shows around town a little bit and starting to take classes and do a few shows at UCB and some other indie improv venues. So it kind of all just bubbled up from there.
And then how did you, like, what was your first job out of college? Because now you write, if I can say the show name, I'm not sure.
You're allowed to.
Okay, you write for Kimmel.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sick.
The James Christian Kimmel Hour.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
His middle name is Christian, not Delano. It's Christian.
Are we talking about Theodore Roosevelt?
Yes.
He didn't have a middle name.
What the fuck?
I just looked it up.
Is that true?
What?
Yeah. Franklin
is
Delano
Delano.
Roosevelt.
Franklin's for sure. That I knew.
Yeah, Teddy
didn't have one.
Teddy Roosevelt Jr. He didn't have a middle name. No.
Wow.
Heard it here first.
Wow.
Wow. You know what? It's actually a history podcast.
Yeah, this is
TMZ.
That was a little fact I brought in.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
what was I saying?
Oh yeah.
Who
What was
cares?
your first job, and then how did you end up becoming a writer for TV? Because I think that is. Like, it is hard to get a foot in the door as a TV writer, and then not to mention like any talk show host, where you're doing writing like every single day. You have to be on top of the news. You got to do, research. So how did that happen?
Well, I mean, my first job out of college was nothing too special. I interned at a random production company out here, and then got hired as their receptionist out of school.
Classic.
Horrible job.
Yeah,
really
you had to wear
terrible.
tight skirts and get coffee.
I was
and
harassed every day. It's a boys' club out there. You got to get along to get along. But no, I
changed. Not much has
that.
changed
No,
at
but
all.
it's still a lot. I was a victim. No, not at all. It just sucked. It was just terrible. But the writing happened through. I studied screenwriting at USC Film School. That was my
This making
undergrad
more sense.
degree.
Yeah.
But it all really came about because I was just doing I was doing like stand-up stuff, and I got my first manager from USC because they do an exit programming thing for screenwriting majors, where you go on like you do like speed dates with a bunch of different managers and agents at the Beverly Hills. Very hot. So you have to have sex with all of them.
Hey, it's Hollywood, baby.
Yeah. No, but it's like you just get like 10 minutes with like a bunch of different managers. And so like I was able to just get like 10 minutes with a bunch of different comedy managers. And so I got a random manager, and they helped me submit like packets places. And that's how I got my first job for writing for Billy Eichner for Billy on the Street.
I love that show.
Is
so
the best.
Fun. Yeah.
And that writer's room was so fun and really cool. And then eventually I like switched managers and stuff. And from there, that was just like 5 weeks in New York in like 2014 or 15 or something. But then
5 weeks for a whole season.
That was just my contract.
Okay,
they rotated a bunch of people in and out.
Wow.
A bunch of amazing people. But I then through stand up, my current manager got me the chance to showcase audition for Adam Devine's House Party.
Oh, that was fun.
It was a fun show. That was the old classic. That was the old Comedy Central like kind of young comic showcase at that time. And I got that, which was very fun. It shot in Hawaii.
Ooh,
so I got to go to
baller over here.
I got to go to the Forgetting Sarah Marshall Resort.
Honestly, I love that film.
It's great.
I don't care what anyone says. It's very funny.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would hold up in the same way.
Shoot. I'm canceled.
Yeah.
Cancel me.
Not in that. Yeah. Well, there's actually a lot of problematic indigenous stuff.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Who knows? I don't remember. But it was so that was really fun. And that was my first like TV credit. I was just remembering this the other day because that's what got me into the Screen Actors Guild union.
No way. Wow.
So I lost money doing the show because you have to pay $3,000 to join the union.
No way.
And it's like worth it long term, of course. But that initial hit, you're like, oh my God. And I was getting paid less than $3,000 to go do the show. But I had to join to do it. So I like had to pay it the day before I left.
God, I didn't know that was how that worked.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, way less. But
no, it's been that way for a while. You could do like a payment plan and stuff. So they'll like help, and you can do a couple of jobs before you're a must join.
Okay.
And so I had exhausted that. And anyway, so I did that showcase, and through that met Adam Devine, and then they were doing the last season of Workaholics.
Yeah.
And I got an interview to write for the last season of Workaholics, so I got hired to do that.
Yeah.
Off of that. And that was my first like Writers Guild real TV writing credit, because Billy on the Street was still like basically cash under the table at that point. And so it was through that, and like also doing other stand-up stuff, and I got a half-hour special and stuff through Comedy Central and shit, which was really fun. But all of that kind of built up my resume just enough that I'd been submitting packets to late night shows that whole time and just like never hearing back from any of them, which is like just how that goes. And for whatever reason, Kimmel was the first one that they were like, they liked it. We'll go in and have an interview. Yeah. And which is like all I was trying to get, because I feel like that's the whole battle is like, anyone can write halfway. Anyone can write halfway decent monologue jokes. I think most stand-ups can do that.
That's a bold statement.
Well, maybe not. It's true. I guess there's certainly like a lot of funny comics who might not have that specific type of like writer thing in their head, because there's just so many funny comics who maybe never write anything down,
It's also for someone else's voice too.
Totally.
Which some people have a hard time doing.
That's absolutely true.
Not me,
Not you, dude. No, he's available, dude. Hire him.
It is a very specific type
specific.
of writing, though. And was that your dream, though, to work for a late night show, or was
sure,
it?
it wasn't necessarily like that's where I'm. I don't know if it was on my vision board, but it was definitely like I was a big late night fan. I was like a Conan kid. I just grew up like watching all that shit.
Yeah.
And so I was and like Jon Stewart really like came up when I was like right when I was starting to do comedy in high school was when he was really blowing up. So like I just got really into that whole world for sure.
Nice.
And so Billy on the Street was a good kind of like intro to that because that's pretty similar to late night writing because it's just a similar like workflow kind of setup.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of what helped me on my resume in terms of like getting in at Kimmel. Yeah, and then we just got in there and so I got in there and I don't know. My first day was the Monday after Donald Trump was inaugurated.
No, you're lying.
Yeah.
You're lying.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
That was
What
worth
a
it for the
fun
month.
first day at work
Yeah,
when
and it was
everyone
just-
felt like the world, all the air was sucked out
Yep.
of the room.
And I, haven't stopped writing goddamn Donald Trump jokes since.
Oh, I'm
so
sure that's fatiguing.
it is fatiguing.
Yeah.
That's he's back, baby.
24.
He never
He's
left.
back, baby.
He
Yeah,
never
the
left.
real thing is
Yeah.
he absolutely never left. There was
Yeah.
maybe like one lull in there right
Yeah.
after, but no. Yeah, that is the part that is tricky.
Yeah.
But it's a great job. It's a great environment. I really like all the people I work
Yeah.
with. So
Well,
I'm
I
very
think
lucky.
it's incredible. Your journey has really been like you've been in, doing this since you were like 15 then.
Yeah.
Like you just went straight into doing it basically out of college, which I
Yes.
know that obviously feels like a long road to you and there's gaps and,
For sure.
whatever.
Like when people ask how long have you been doing stand up, I'm like, well, I can't say
Yeah.
17 years.
Right. They're like, you're 18.
Because like
yeah.
that's not.
Yeah.
Because then people go, oh fuck, you should be doing much better in the world of stand up. Like 17 years is so long. They're like, oh, you should be Bill Burr.
Oh,
like
for sure.
what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, like 10 years is like an overnight success,
Right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So but it does all sort of add up, and everything feeds every other part of it. So it's-
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, cool. So excited to have you. I know that you might have a few short stories for us.
little nuggets from my time in showbiz. Yeah, I'm here
After
to dish.
84 years in the business.
Yeah. I'm here to tell you about the time Kimmel and I did heroin.
It was right after they just started putting sound in pictures.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah.
Wild time.
The year was 1929, and Al Jolson was on the silver screen. Because this is what, cringy road stories or whatever.
Well, any comedy story. So it's, wild, cringy, salacious,
Sure. Well,
awkward.
one tiny one from the that I thought of when you explained this show was one of the first times I went to the open mic at Giggles in Seattle when I was like 16. They were putting me up, and the host came up to me and said, "You're going up after Robo." And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. And then I saw they introduced, they're like, ladies and gentlemen, Robo. And this comedian pushed an upside down aluminum garbage can with googly eyes on the front of it and a little fedora, I think, on top of the garbage can. Push that onto the stage and like set the mic up in front of it. But it was these two comics where one of them was remote controlling the robot and the other was on a mic in the back and was pretending to be the robot.
And they crushed.
They like bombed crushed, where it's like, this sucks, but
so
like
bad
it's
that you
so
have to laugh.
crazy.
Yeah.
It was, the gimmick was basically a robot that does like bad street jokes, so it was like
and you had to follow that.
yeah. So it's like the one I remember was like what was it? What is the difference between an onion and a prostitute? I don't cry when I cut prostitutes.
Oh,
And you're like,
boy.
holy shit. Okay.
Wow, I love that you remember that.
That's the one I remember.
That's deep in your.
That's
your,
an old hack joke.
Yeah.
And I'm just watching this going, what the fuck? And then, but they did really make me laugh where he closed with, Robo was like, thank you, that's my time. And then, that stage is just a little, like, 4 foot high lip in the corner. So Robo went, thank you, that's my time. And then they just drove Robo towards the stairs down off stage. But of course, it can't go down the stairs. So it just crashed down the stairs. So he went, thank you, that's my time. Oh, no! And, like, crashed.
Yeah.
And it made me laugh.
It was not
hard.
ADA accessible.
No. Yeah. Robo needed a ramp.
Oh, my God.
And then I went up and, bombed with
Well, yeah.
whatever bullshit I had.
You can't
but
follow that,
no. So that was that's what I remember from, like, the first days.
Those early days.
Those
were you
early days.
intimidated at that age, or did you have, like, a weird...
Were you scared of Robo?
I was definitely scared of Robo.
I mean, that's so young, and Ellie and I talk about this a lot. Like, we're anxious to go to mics and stuff if we don't know people, but you were a teen.
Totally. I think it was a weird mix of, I think I was intimidated, but was also, I think I had some kind of unearned self-confidence.
Excitement is really what it is.
Yeah. But, my parents were really, like, supportive, and I was like a theater kid. And I know, right? So I think I was just like, this is, again, I was like, kids get to do stand-up. So I think I was just like, whatever. My jokes are good. They weren't, but... So I think I just had just enough of a slightly heightened sense of self, but I was definitely like just looking around and like these are all like adult men. It was only men. That's not true. There were a couple of women there.
Thank you.
I remember Barbara Holm was Arijana
I was in
there.
the back lurking. Yeah.
And but it was definitely mostly men, and they were like used car salesmen who were also like doing stand up and shit. So it was like weird.
You have to have like a little bit of delusion.
Totally.
Because if you don't, at first you're gonna be like, oh, I did well, but then you look around at who's there and you're like, this doesn't seem like a very happy bunch.
Totally.
So
but it was
like,
I want to do this, and I guess you just keep doing this, and so yeah. That was it never got better than when I followed Robo.
You crushed that.
Robo's big.
Robo's Siri. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, Robo has since booked the job as Siri.
Yeah, Robo is
big voice change for Robo.
And a lot of people don't know it. Also Alexa.
That's
it's
right.
the same one.
It's double dipping. It's a
the same
monopoly.
one, Robo's a voice actor.
That's right.
Oh my God, I want to know who the two comics were now, but oh my God,
I wouldn't know. I
They
have
probably
no
don't even exist
I bet
anymore.
someone
kicked
in
the bucket.
Sure, there you go. Kick the trash
nice
can.
pun, yeah.
Someone in Seattle knows
For sure,
definitely.
Yeah. I'll do some intel.
They made me laugh. They made me laugh. It was a terrible bit, but it did make me laugh.
Well, the thing that I love about that is like you have to be confident enough to go to a club mic and ask, "Hey, can we have access to your soundboard and bring a trash can in and do this weird?"
I think
bit?
they were already like they were regulars at the mic or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, we got this Robo bit.
Yeah.
It's gonna fucking
I mean,
kill.
that's bold.
Let us up there.
That's bold.
Yeah.
Do you have a dumb bit that always makes you laugh? I have one from Seattle. It's do you remember? He one time had this like joke about search history, clearing your search history, and how it's like really embarrassing. And he goes, "Yeah, don't look at my search history unless you want to come." And it to this day, it murders me whenever I think about it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but it's like whenever
Nice
and
like, stupid.
Yeah, whenever I tell people, they're like, it's whatever. But I'm like, it's
You're like, yeah, but if you'd heard,
yeah. But he also had like a very like distinct way of speaking. He's like,
Of
hey,
course.
don't look at my surgery unless you want to come. And then like,
you're
just
like,
moves
okay,
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any like that?
Well, I thought it was gonna be one of your jokes, but yeah. I actually, Bo did a set the other night and I went to watch him and he just, sometimes you're just like, all right, when you see a joke, and he has to, I'm like, should I retell it? Cause he might post he'll post a reel of it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But he does.
If there's one thing I know about Bo, it's that he'll post
he's
a reel.
He's gonna post a reel, yeah. But he does this stupid joke. Like, I love him to death, and he knows that it's so silly. Like, he's like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever written, but it's like it gets a huge pop from people because it's like, you know him, his sensibility is kind of like sweet little golden retriever boy, right? And he does this joke and he's like, I used to get bullied, and the bully pulled my pants down, and everybody was laughing at my big dick.
That's funny.
And then he's
That's
like,
funny.
everyone was laughing. They're like, oh, it's so unproportional, and it's just, it kills me actually because it's so stupid and it's wonderfully stupid.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And congrats, Bo.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, yeah, someone should pull his pants down.
Yeah, that's right.
Now it's into the dick.
Now it's proportional.
Yeah.
Now it's actually really small because he's really tall.
He has a thyroid problem, but it didn't reach.
This is why I came on the show, was to talk about Bo's dick.
Yeah, I honestly have been waiting for the chance.
Good.
Thank you so
Let's
much.
get into it.
Yeah, okay, so we got a nice 6-incher. It's like a bratwurst, if you will. No.
It's German.
There
Is
you go.
He really?
His mom's German.
Okay.
Ooh,
Okay.
the theories unfold.
It's all checking out.
Yeah, it's all checking out. Well, enough about Bo's dick.
Yes. Let's move on.
Yes. Okay. I'm sure. So those were the early days.
Those are early days. The other thing I was gonna talk about was in terms of like stand up weird like gigs, not at my usual clubs or whatever. I started doing a couple of shows at the Brea Improv because someone had seen me at the Melrose Improv here, and they have another one down in Orange County. They have a couple, and they were like, we need like hosts and features for the Brea Improv sometimes. Would you be interested? Sure. So I was kind of like on their radar, and they asked me to come down and do a weekend featuring for Norm MacDonald. This would have been like
very exciting.
It was very exciting. I was like a huge Norm fan, and I was, and to do like a full, I think we did 4 shows or something.
So fun.
This is the best. And it was me and the very funny Chase Bernstein was hosting, and she was my buddy from like LA open mics and stuff.
Oh, so fun. You get to do it with your friend. And,
totally.
Yeah.
And it was good to just like be with someone who we would literally like before and after the show, we'd be like, I can't believe we're about to do the show. And then after the show, we'd be like, that was crazy that we just did that show. So that was really fun. But so I did this weird, it was basically just like 2 full nights of hanging out with Norm MacDonald, which was really fun and cool and strange and weird.
Yeah, Elliott's a big Norm fan.
Sure. I mean,
am I wrong?
Yeah.
Oh,
but I wouldn't say I'm a huge Norm fan.
Sorry, maybe I'm confusing you with someone else. Maybe I am, but I mean, you like him.
I do like him. Yeah, his moth joke, the moth joke.
A Conan classic. Yeah, all that shit is so funny. So I was really excited. And the first show, Norm didn't drive. Norm was someone who did not drive in LA and had other people drive him around.
Yeah.
So he had this fucking idiot driving him around. This guy was so dumb. And
like a hired chauffeur?
He was like some like 24-year-old knucklehead that had fallen in the Norm MacDonald camp somehow.
Knucklehead is such a good word.
He really was, and this guy really was a knucklehead. And
we got Devin Field here from the 80s.
That's right. I mean, this guy was a dweeb. But he had driven Norm down there, and he was also like Norm's like weed guy, I think.
Okay, and, this is adding up now.
So he had like a bong there in the green room and stuff. And the first show, they were like, Norm was like, he's gonna open for you. We're gonna have him. He's gonna go up and do 5. He's never done stand up.
Oh,
before.
The driver is gonna open.
The driver's gonna do stand up.
You're kidding.
So the driver was set to do stand up. So I'm like, okay, and whatever. It's
You're like
sure
suddenly
thing, Norm.
this weekend feels a lot less
I'm like,
special.
what is this? Yeah, right. This guy is doing 5. I'm doing 10. He's doing 5.
Yeah, and this guy got me a sandwich, so he's gonna close
he'll
it out.
Yeah, exactly.
We're splitting your pay.
Yeah, but I'm like, whatever, and it went great for me because he went up and like kind of ate shit for like 5 or 6 minutes in this, just because again he had never done stand up before in his life, so it was like, he was, the only laughs he was getting were like unintentional, and but he was a perfectly nice person to me, but whatever. He went up and really bombed, and then I just remember I really got them on my side immediately by coming out right after him and going, and give it up for the Make-A-Wish kid who just came up here and did it. And they were like,
that's a good riff.
They were like, oh my God. Like the audience couldn't believe that someone had made fun of him.
Oh my God.
And so I like did my set, and I really remember the first show because I came off stage and I came off stage at Chase brought Norm up, and like I had closed with a joke I had about porn, and the first thing Norm said when he came on was, he's like, Devin was very funny. Devin was just talking about pornography. I have some thoughts about porn, and then just did like basically did my joke much longer and much better, like more complete, where in a way where that was sort of like, oh fuck, like who am I, but was also like, this is so cool that this guy like remembered my name and was like, oh, that's funny, and then like blah
also
blah.
Great Norm impression.
Yeah, that's it. And I saw him do these 4 shows, and every hour was different. Every hour was like completely different material. If there was some of the same material, it would be totally rearranged. So he was like closing with different shit every set and doing long sets, and like would lose the audience for like 10 minutes and then get them right back. A couple of my friends came to the show, and they were I could hear them in the audience laughing really hard at. I think this is in one of his specials too. He kept talking about Vegas, and he just kept going, Las Vegas, I call it lost wages. And he just kept saying it over and over again. And I heard my buddy Dan just like scream laughing in the audience. It was the stupidest thing we'd ever heard.
Oh my God.
It was the best. But then like what it really became about, I remember after the first show, he was like, Devin, you were talking about marijuana a lot in your set. And I was like, yeah, I had a couple of jokes in a row about weed or whatever. And he was like, made me wonder if you have any.
He's like, I need a new weed guy. The first guy bombed.
Yeah, this guy. And so I was like, I didn't. And I was like, I don't. Sorry. And he's like, oh, yeah, damn. And so the next night, I made sure to like bring a bunch of weed.
You're like, I got to find the weed.
And so for the next 2 shows, it was like after the show, we would sit in the green room and smoke joints with Norm, and he just wanted to smoke so much, and his friend, his longtime producer, her name's like Lori or something, I forget in this moment what her name was, but I remember on like the last show, I brought these joints. And we smoked this whole joint, and it ended up like just being me and him. There were some other people, but it was basically just me and him passing it back and forth.
You kissed.
Yeah. That's right, we kissed.
And I was joint and we just slowly
blew into each other's mouth. But I was just getting so high because it was so much. And then we like finished this joint, and all he wanted to do was talk about Canadian serial killers. No. So he just talked for like an hour and a half straight about like this documentary he had just seen about like Canada's most prolific serial killer, and was going on and on about like the details of these murders. And he was talking about this interview with this like this guy who the killer had tried to kill him, but he got away. And Norm was like doing an impression of this guy. He like did a full like acting performance, like became this guy in front of us. And he's just like holding court for like an hour and a half, and I'm so high.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And he's just going on and on. And what was so weird about it, and Chase and I talked about this a lot, was it kept hitting a point both nights that we hung out with him where it was like, because I guess it was 3 nights in a row. All 3 nights, it would hit a point where in our heads we're like, Norm, we have to go. Like, this is like, if you had talked to like 13-year-old me, I would have never been like, I would have been like, you got to hang out with Norm MacDonald all night.
Yeah.
But when you're actually sitting in the room, you're like, Norm, I want to go home.
Like, Norm,
like
I'm
this
tired.
is, I'm barely participating in the
Yeah.
conversation. And I remember on the last night we like finished this joint, and then his producer came in and was like, Norm, because she had to drive him home, and was like, Norm, are you ready to like go? And he was like, we were gonna smoke this joint. And he pointed to like my other joint, and in my head I'm like, we were. And so then I have to
Norm, no.
then I have to light a second joint and like smoke that with him. And I had ended up having to like sit in my car for an hour before I drove home, because it was like I had to drive, an hour on the freeway back to LA, and I'm like, I was blitzed out of my mind. And but it was wild. But the one like big bummer thing about it was, in the first night with that driver guy, they started talking about Jordan Peterson, the men's rights activist, weird pseudoscientist guy, Canadian. And Norm said Jordan Peterson was the last great intellectual, and that he wished he was Prime Minister of Canada. And I was like, it was such a bummer to be like, because Jordan Peterson was really on the rise at that point, and at such a moment when like I was like, no, this guy's like a total fucking creep. So it's such a weird mix of like, I'm with my hero, but he's saying this like men's rightsy shit that I'm like, but you believe this too, but you're so funny and so nice. So it's a real mixed bag. And I remember the dumb driver was really into Jordan Peterson too. He's like, there's this one clip of him talking to this feminist reporter, and he just like shuts her down so expertly. And I was like, really? What did he say? And he couldn't remember a single detail of the video. He was just like, because she's asking him a question like, well, but isn't it true that this and this and this? And Jordan Peterson just comes back at her and is like, actually, that's not accurate at all. I think you'll find that I said this and this and this and this. And I was just listening going, you don't even remember a one fucking word he said. But you're like, oh, he's so smart. He just sounds smart to these guys. So it made sense that he was appealing to that guy. But I'm like, Norm, you're a genius. Why is
That's
this guy
funny,
because
I remember hearing something. I wonder if it was from like David Spade or something. After Norm passed away, he was talking about him. He's like, yeah, Norm was like a really smart guy.
Very smart.
And he would like dumb it down for people.
Yes.
Like he would feel like if he actually wrote jokes about like the shit he was into, it would go over a lot of people's heads. So he would, like, dumb it down.
You could tell from the Moth joke of like he was obsessed with like great Russian literature, you know, and like stuff that I've never read, you know, but he read all those books, and like, you know, he was definitely like a very smart person. I think he was just kind of an old school guy who had, you know, some opinions from 1985 that like never sort of changed.
Well, that's funny, because I was gonna be like, you're saying all that, and I was like, yeah, I think Norm's a smart guy. And then you said the Jordan Peterson thing, and I was like, yeah, he was a smart guy.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
He's the smartest guy. But he was still just like really sweet and really complimentary about Chase and I's material and stuff. And I remember he hugged us goodbye in the parking lot on the last night and said, we'll see you again on down the road. Wow. And then got into his car. And then I think he was dead like 2.5 years later or something.
Damn.
Maybe three. But it was crazy. It was a real, like, it was so funny to be doing that at the Brea Improv too, this like satellite improv club. It was just like this, I'm at a mall in Orange County with Norm MacDonald talking about serial killers, as high as I've ever been.
I also like too how you said you watched all 4 shows. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of comics don't watch comedy, and it really pisses me off.
And I don't always.
Yeah.
But something like that, it's like,
but
how often am I going to be in this position again?
But that's the thing, though, is like people don't read, because that's why whenever it's on for Madison, Comedy on State is there. Whenever I'm back, I'm just like, I'm there all weekend, because I want to watch as many shows for that reason. I want to see what changes between the shows, you know, if it's just a different order, if it's just completely different material, all that. I think that's really interesting, but a lot of people are just like, I saw it once, like I get it.
And it would have been different if like a little while later I did a couple nights with featuring for Fortune Feemster at the Brea Improv. She was the best. That was really fun too. She was so nice. But that's one where her set apart. She was like preparing to tape something.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
her
yeah.
set was apart from some riffs here and
Yeah,
there and a
it's
little bit of
locked
a
in.
couple different things. It's the same thing. So once I
Yeah.
watched that one time, I've kind of seen it. I still watched her stuff a little bit, but like it was just that when I watched Norm's first set, I was like, wow, that was crazy. And then watched it the second time and 20 minutes goes by and I haven't heard anything that he said at the last show. I was
Yeah.
like, this is fucking nuts. It's the kind of shit like I could never do that.
Yeah.
That was just like this is someone who's been doing comedy for 35 years and has so much material rattling around his head that he can just like tack anywhere and have 15 minutes of a thing to say about X
Yeah.
and then go right back to whatever else he wanted to say.
But then what he really wanted to talk
Was
about
Jordan
was
Peterson.
the serial killer. Jordan
Yeah,
Peterson.
yeah. Only Jordan Peterson could stop the serial killers in Canada. Yeah, but it was crazy.
I almost want to believe. I know he probably just believes it, but I almost want to believe that he was just like agreeing with that guy to like egg him on.
Yeah, who knows?
You know,
he definitely
we'll never
like
know.
he definitely
Yeah.
just his relationship with this young guy was weird. In
Yeah.
this way where I'm like, how did you find this person?
Yeah, because at that point, weed was legal. Like you don't need a
Yeah.
dealer.
No.
Yeah, that's like the best part of it
but he
to
needed
me.
a driver that night
Yeah,
down to
yeah.
Brea, and
Yeah.
that was that.
Oh,
So yeah, that was
man.
that's the only time I've ever really like shared a bill with like a sort of legend comic.
Oh man,
And it was very informative.
yeah, what a legend.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Mhm.
And that's a good hang too. A lot of
was.
times it's like, oh hey, all right, nice to meet you, bye. You know.
No,
You
he
don't
really
actually-
wanted to hang out,
Yeah.
which surprised me. And I was really grateful for the first hour and a half, and then I, was like, I gotta go.
well, it's so easy to notice when a headliner is nice. Like they don't have to go out of their way to be nice, or you know,
Yeah.
I get it. They have long nights, I should say, and like people just don't want to hang out all the time, you know.
Totally.
And it's not about the hang so much as like you really do notice when someone's like they really want to be around other comics, even though
Yeah.
they've been doing it for a long time, and they're like enjoying seeing other people's comedy, even if like you're not a big name, right? Like he
Sure.
listened to your set.
I know.
You know, like
And
that
had
to me is
nice,
huge.
specific things to say about
Yeah,
it, which
yeah.
was like I was over the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, this couldn't be better.
Yeah, that's like the best thing when it's like, oh, I love that specific joke.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like the highest compliment
Yeah.
you can play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that he was willing to not just like meet up, but I feel like a lot of times you see headliners like that might be down to hang out a little bit and watch some comedy, but they're kind of, and I can be guilty of this in my own tiny way, they're kind of in their own comedy clique. So it's like they
For
might not end
sure.
up talking to that random comic that was on the bill also because two of their buddies that they're in like a clique with
That's
are
very
also
real.
there. So they'll just talk to, and again, like
Yeah.
I've done that.
Well,
but,
it's a comfort thing, right? Like we all
Sure.
flock to the people that we're comfortable with.
yeah, and we're all
stuff,
anxious,
but-
and so it's like,
Oh,
ugh, let me
100%.
hang out with the person I know instead
Yeah,
of like trying to make
yeah.
a friend.
Totally.
But it's really it says a lot when you meet comics that can kind of push through that and
Yeah.
introduce themselves to people and meet people. and
Right,
it's-
right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
different.
Oh, how graceful.
Yeah, it was wild.
Oh my gosh. And so, okay, we got a stand-up story. You did allude before we started recording that you might have a fun writer's room story.
Yeah,
for us.
I've had a couple little I mean the only like Kimmel stories that are halfway interesting to anyone else are my few brushes with celebrity guests.
Ooh.
I don't know if you know how these shows work, but they have celebrities come on. And you know, and it's always really interesting to work with them because they're all totally different and they all kind of have their own approach to what they want to do on those shows.
You're managing personalities.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people who come on those shows don't want to do any fucking comedy.
Oh, is
Like,
that true?
Really true. Of like and not even in like a way as aggressively as I just said, but like
yeah, they're just like,
they're like,
no,
"Leave
what
me
if we did a
alone."
drama
No,
on this late night
really.
show?
they'll like it's just that, you know, because we are always like preparing for shows down the road, and so you'll see the list of who's coming up on the show this month, and you it's part of your job to like pitch like.
Yeah. Do you get notice? Like, do you have like a few
Yeah, we have a little
weeks?
calendar,
Okay.
and like every Friday we don't have a show, and so Fridays are the day when our main assignment is ideas for the next week or any future show. So that's a day when you just get a list of like who's on for the next 3 weeks, and you can kind of be like, oh, Don Cheadle's coming on. Let me pitch this like Marvel bit for Don Cheadle or whatever. So that's part of the job a lot is so most celebrities who come on end up getting pitched a couple of bits, and I think like 80% of them, the email comes back from their reps being like, they are politely passing on this idea. They just don't want to do it. They want to focus on like the interview itself, and they don't want to think twice about.
Well, is it because they want to promote the thing they're working on and they're worried this will take that time away?
I think that's part of it. Often it's like they're busy, they can't move their schedule around is like the very common excuse. But I think a lot of the time they're just kind of like protective of their own brand or whatever, and they're just like, nah, I'm good. But I've two medium-sized stories about the couple of times that I've worked with people. A lot of them are like really great. Of like, I very briefly worked with Henry Winkler on a thing, and he was like the sweetest guy in the world. Me and my coworker Jesse Joyce wrote this. It was like a positive roast bit, so it was like a roast, but you only said nice things, and he was the host in the bit. So there were a bunch of people.
Perfect.
He was perfect for it, and he was so sweet when we were working on it. We introduced ourselves, and he just held up the script, and he's like, "Did you write this?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he goes, "It is wonderful," and like shook our hands.
Your impressions are spot on, Devin. Oh my god!
Right, well,
oh my god!
UCB trained. But he like took a picture with us and stuff. He was very nice. But I have a couple other times you have to, like, if a celebrity happens to pick you pitch a thing, and first the head writers and Jimmy have to say, okay, we'll pitch that to a celebrity. So usually that's where my ideas die. It's like, they're like, no thanks. But occasionally they'll pick it, and then they pitch it to a celebrity, and then every once in a great while they'll be like, yeah, I'll do that. So the couple of times that has happened to me, then it's your job, you and the producer and the director go to their dressing room and like explain the bit to them or whatever. And so
that is such a funny situation in my mind. Like that's where you're explaining the bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like they've seen it before, but like then you have to kind of remind them like, okay, here we go. And here's what it is. One time that I really remember is Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus were coming on to promote their movie Downhill.
The skiing one.
Was
that good?
No.
I didn't see it.
I'm sorry.
I didn't see it.
I love both of them, but it was like not my favorite like use of their skills.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're both so talented, but to me it was just like
and it was an American remake of a brilliant movie from like Sweden maybe or Norway or something.
That's why it was bad then, because they remade it.
Yeah, and it's called Force Majeure, and it's really good. And the one redheaded guy from Game of Thrones is in both of them.
Ed Sheeran.
I fucking forgot he was on that show.
I've never seen the show.
That was very good, but he was on that show.
Yeah. Instantly, I was like, no.
You got it.
And then the scene of him in the woods, I was like, yes.
What a fucking joke that he was like, because like Tegan and Sarah or somebody or some other band.
They were on it?
No, maybe not them, but there was some band. No. It was what's the Icelandic band?
The Killers.
Yes. Yes, the Killers.
I know what you're talking about, but
people are
Sigur Rós.
That's what it was.
What the fuck is that?
Hey, get cultured, Elliott.
They were the band at like a wedding scene or a duel scene or something, but they were just in the background, and it was like, if you notice, oh, that's Sigur Rós over there, And I'm like, that's the appropriate use of a cameo. But with Ed Sheeran, it was like close up of Ed in the woods.
Yeah,
like, it's so
hey,
fucking
what's your
bad.
name? And he's like, Sir Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, it's fucking.
No, you're
It
kidding.
does
Oh, okay, wait.
It doesn't go that far.
I was like, I've never seen the shows, but
No.
you just hear in, pop culture.
It's
stuff
fucking crazy
too.
that he was on.
Well,
that
do
show.
you have to consume a lot of media too when you're writing?
It definitely helps to like be up on the big popular
Okay,
stuff.
yeah.
But like, for example, we devote a bunch of our monologue to The Bachelor when The Bachelor's on because it's an
I do
ABC
notice
show,
that.
and
Yeah.
we try. And so like Monday nights, like half our monologue sometimes, not quite that much anymore, but a big chunk of our monologue will be devoted to The Bachelor, and I've never watched an episode.
Oh,
of
okay,
The
so
Bachelor.
you can get away with
It's-
it. 'Cause
that's
there's
when
enough
we're-
writers in the room.
There's enough writers who
Okay.
do watch it, and I'm able to we still like see the clips from it that we're making jokes about, so I can still like write jokes about the clips, and it's like I get it, like I
There's not
I
much
can
to
wrap
get.
my head
Yeah,
around
yeah.
what this show is.
There's like 4 guys named Jake. You're
Yeah,
good to
exactly.
go. Yeah.
It's like I understand what's going on here. But yeah, so like, it helps to watch that stuff. But and like,
so
the
Will and
Marvel stuff.
Julia
So
were
Will
coming
and Julia
on
are
together
to promote
though.
this movie, and so
Okay.
we had to pitch stuff to. They were going to walk on and like do a little jokey patter and throw to the trailer, and I got assigned to write their jokey patter, which I was like thrilled by.
I didn't know even that was written. Maybe I'm dumb, but like
Yeah.
some of the stuff seems so naturally. I mean, usually I can be like, okay, obviously this is a written bit or something,
Sure.
but I wasn't sure if they improvised that and were just given direction or if it was like truly written.
I mean, sometimes it'll be kind of loose and they'll like take some liberties and be kind of fresh in the moment, but it's all planned. I mean, all those interviews are planned in terms of it's like
Yeah.
a producer sits down with the guest and does a pre-interview of like, what are the stories you want to tell? What have you been up to lately? What funny thing did your kids say the
Nathan
other day?
Fielder really debunked that.
Yeah,
you
right,
know?
exactly. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. That was a Kimmel episode. So I write a little bit. I don't even really remember what I had them doing, but so now I have to go to their dressing rooms and like show them the script. So I go to Julia Louis-Dreyfus's dressing room first, and I'm like, she's a queen. She's a goddess.
I probably would not have been able to meet her, and I
No,
really
it was
do
crazy.
sincerely mean that. Like, I would get starstruck.
You know
with
what
her.
helps is in that situation, I'm not meeting her as a fan. I'm being
Yes.
introduced to her as this is the writer of this
Yes.
bit. And so I just go, hey, nice to meet you. I never take that opportunity to go like, and I loved you and blah, blah, just because it's like not that kind of
weird,
convo.
Yeah.
And normally it's the producer kind of doing most of the talking, and I'm just there to also like if they needed me to explain the script a little more. So that kind of helps. Of like I'm not just
Yeah.
like meeting them at the mall.
Okay,
and
true,
Being like,
yeah.
Julia.
We're gonna have you sit down with Julia.
Yeah, and just
at the
chat.
Sbarro.
Yeah, exactly. And
You're
just,
buying.
and just unload your feelings on her.
Can I get a large Coke? No.
no,
Julia, focus.
Hey, Julia.
Julia. So I go in and she's so nice, and I give her the script, and she's going through the script, and she's kind of looking at the script, and she's like, and she kind of like points to like this one area of like 2 lines back and forth, and she's kind of like, I don't know about this. Like, can we beat this? Do we have something better here? And so now it's like, you're up, Devin. Like this is you have to like pitch like an alt. But I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm an improviser.
You're like, I'm
whatever.
a professional. I've been doing this 85
Yeah,
years.
I've been doing this since comedy. So I throw something out, and she just goes, no. And then I'm like, okay. And I like throw out another suggestion. She goes, no. Like she just is not liking. They weren't very good, but I'm just like bombing in front of Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And so I'm
You're like, I opened for Norm fucking
Yeah.
MacDonald.
and
How
he thought
dare
I
you?
was fine.
He said I had some decent
Yeah.
jokes.
I was slightly funnier than his driver. So
You've been to the Brea Improv.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry.
they liked me
so.
they tolerated me for 10 whole minutes. So finally she goes like, okay, let's see what Will has to say. Is he here yet? And they're like, yeah, Will Ferrell's here. So they're like, all right, let's go. So now we all go over to Will Ferrell's dressing room. So then I'm meeting Will Ferrell for the first time, being like, hi, how are you? And they give him the script, and he's going through it. And Julie was like, I was kind of looking at this section. And he looks at it and he goes, yeah, can we do better than that? Like, is there something else instead of that? So now I have to pitch like more new shit in front of Will. So I pitch something to him and he goes, no. And then I had to pitch something like I did this exact same thing. I pitched like 2 more things and he's like, I don't know. And then we all just kind of sat there in silence for a while. And then then he just went, it's fine. It's fine. And Julia was like, yeah, it'll be fine. Whatever. And they both just agreed to
That's
just.
worse.
It
That's
is so
worse.
much worse. They're just
That's
like, whatever.
so much
They're
worse.
like, whatever. Who
Do you
cares?
remember what the line
I have no
was?
idea.
Okay,
I
good.
could, if I went through my email, I could find the script and I'd remember.
If you remembered, I would have been like, that really stuck with you.
No,
So
it was
funny.
just because it was all pretty generic.
Yeah.
But they just happened to not like one section, and I just really ate shit when I
They
was
were both
pitching.
just like, I mean, he's trying.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
that's-
totally. And they were so nice. Like they
Yeah.
could have really been like I can't do that. We need something better. But they were just like, whatever, we'll figure it out. And they did it, and it went well.
And Will was nice too.
he was so nice.
Oh.
I
love to hear that.
I worked with him on later on another thing that he popped up and did for us, and he was like a total pro and a real approachable, like low key guy, and
Well,
just the
they're
best.
also both comedians, so maybe they kind of understood, like maybe there's a
Totally.
punch up or something. So maybe it wasn't as like it's hard to do that on the spot.
It is
you
hard.
know.
And it's the only time I've like really had to do that specifically. There have been other times when I've had to kind of throw out a couple different lines if we're shooting something, but that was the only time I've really had to like. It was just like all heads turned to me. You know, there's 7 people in the room, and they're like, do we have a funnier line? And they all
Knowing
look at
me,
you, and
yeah.
you're like, okay, I don't think so.
Yeah. Knowing me, I would have been like, well, why don't you guys come up with something?
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, you're fucking comedy geniuses.
Yeah.
Why is this on me?
Yeah, how long have you been doing this, Will?
Yeah.
Did you start at Giggles when you
Yeah,
were 15?
exactly.
Fuck off, Julia. Like,
Yeah. You were in Groundlings, Will. You didn't have to follow Robo.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Elaine.
Yeah,
Was that your name?
exactly.
Yeah.
You didn't have to follow Robo.
Like, yeah. Like, aren't you a billionaire? Who cares?
I came up in the fucking trenches, dude.
I do appreciate though the fact that Julia was like, oh, it wasn't even like, oh, like was like, oh, I don't know about this, but it's like, oh, she genuinely read it and was like, oh, like maybe there's something here that we can, you know.
It was like thoughtful in that way of like, I had a similar thing where Nikki Glazer was guest hosting, and she did a roast section of her monologue of her like roasting politicians that I had pitched. So me and Jesse Joyce, who's a writer on the show and like wrote for all the Comedy Central roasts, me and him were kind of like assigned to it. And so we ended up like sitting in her dressing room for like an hour, like right before she went on, just like writing it with, like we had written it all, but then we were like rewriting it all with her. And she was so
Whoa.
hands-on and like, but really like receptive to pitches and stuff and like laughing at our stuff, but being if something wasn't good enough, she'd be like, no, I don't think that, maybe this. And she was just like really gracious and giving, but so
But up
involved.
till the hour of going on.
Yeah, it was literally like
Wow.
5 minutes before she's supposed to like go and host this whole show. And so I came away like really impressed with her, even just like writing ability. I'm like, she's like writing her ass off in the like hour before this. She didn't have
Well,
to do this. Like
she's-
this script was
yeah.
done, you know, she could have gone
She's
on and done
amazing
this.
on the roast. That,
Yeah, she's
and
very
I'm
good.
like,
and that's her. So that was part of it.
Yeah.
Was she's like, I really want
Right.
this to be like hot because
Yeah.
this is my whole thing.
and she's like done it so long that she probably knows like you know
Totally.
the rhythm of it.
There's
and
such a
stuff.
rhythm to
Yeah.
it too. It's like, and Jesse has done them too so much. So it was
Right.
really just like dialing in, like, let's make sure this fits. The last story I'll say of a time I totally ate shit in front of a celebrity was they used to do this bit on Kimmel. I guess we could still do it sometimes, where if a rapper's on the show, they'll have them come out during the monologue and just like recite the lyrics of one of their hits. And then Jimmy will translate those lyrics for like lame white people, you know?
Okay.
So it's like they
Yeah.
have some song that's like slang heavy. And then, you know, Jimmy will be like, what they're saying is they're driving a nice car. And they
Yeah,
want
he's
to-
Urban Dictionary.
Exactly. And it was a bit that existed before I got hired on the show. And this writer, Jeff Loveness, used to do it. He has since moved on to write the new Ant-Man and now the new Avengers movie.
It's like, why does that name sound so familiar? Oh,
Yep.
that's why.
He'll never speak to me again. But he always did a really funny job with it, and I think part of why he was so then when he left, I think they were like, let's give this to the youngest writer now. And so that was me, because they're like, you probably know rap, right? And I'm like, I really don't. And so I got assigned to do this bit, so I had to do it a couple of times. I did it with YG once, and he was awesome. He was so nice. I'm like, suddenly I'm in YG's dressing room being like, hey, I wrote this bit. He's like, what's up, man? And suddenly I'm like high-fiving YG, and he's like, yeah, it's funny. And I was like, okay. And it all
That's
was all
so
fine.
good.
But one time,
Do a YG impression.
absolutely
go
not.
for it.
Absolutely not. This is on tape. I can't do that. I'll never do that. I respect you
I
too
noticed
much.
you skipped right over
Yeah,
that.
well,
But God, Julian will.
Let's focus on Henry Winkler.
Yeah.
Let's hear a good 400. Let's
Yeah,
hear it.
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
honey.
exactly. Yeah, that was good. You got it.
Thank you.
And but then one time, Offset and Cardi B were on, and they were
And they were sharing a dressing room.
and they were sharing a dress probably, and but so we were gonna do that bit with Cardi B, and then I guess I think Cardi B was our musical guest, and Offset was just also there, and right, and so she was taping her pre-taping her musical performance before the show, and then I had written, this translation of her lyrics or whatever that then she was going to rehearse right after that. So she shot her musical performance, which was her walking down Hollywood Boulevard and like rapping into the camera. And so they had to like close the street down and like had all these cops out and shit because it's like, it's fucking Cardi B is walking down Hollywood Boulevard. So they had like one take at this. And so they shoot this whole thing and something went wrong with it. I think what was going on was she had her like security guy walking down the street with her in case, because the street wasn't fully closed. So there were still like people around. And I guess when they watched the tape back after they finished it, he was kind of like semi-aggressively like shoving people out of the way because he's trying to protect Cardi B and he's on Hollywood Boulevard. But so she's watching it going like, I told you not to shove, like, I can handle it. Like, don't worry about it. Because it's like now she's doing this cool performance, but in the background, her security guy is like checking people away from her.
Oh, what a stressful
Very
job
stressful.
on both ends,
Very,
right? Because it's
truly.
like reflective of her, but it's also like he's trying to, make sure she's safe.
Totally.
Yeah.
And these on Hollywood Boulevard is like the craziest. I mean, like Spider-Man will kill you. It's bizarre. So all I heard was, so I'm like waiting in the studio for her to come in and rehearse this bit, and that finishes, and I hear her kind of like yelling at her team and the producers and stuff because she didn't think it went right and wasn't happy with it. And so I'm kind of like, what's going on? And like my producer is like, Cardi's a little upset. She's a little mad or whatever, because like her big music performance hadn't gone quite the way she wanted it to. And now she has to come in and rehearse my dumb bit. And so I'm like, she and I were never introduced. But so I'm like sitting in the audience, just like by myself in the studio, waiting for her to come in. And she's really mad. And then someone is like, Cardi, we have to rehearse this thing now. And she's like, we have to do what? She's like, what is this? And they're like, it's this bit that you agreed to do and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm sitting in the audience watching Cardi B and Offset huddled together and read my script. I'm like,
no.
I'm like looking at them reading my script.
I couldn't picture a better moment to like try to be instantly a body language expert. Just
yeah,
watching them being like,
yeah, well, and I'll tell you, all the signs I was picking up on, they were not happy. And she's just like flipping through it, and finally she just kind of goes, and like to Offset, she just looks up and goes, "This shit ain't funny." Like sitting
she's
right
not
there.
A quiet person.
No, she's just like, "This ain't funny," and I'm sitting in the audience going, "I agree, Cardi." Like,
and it's just the three of you.
Yeah, like she has no idea. She doesn't know I'm sitting 10 feet from her watching this unfold. But in my head, I'm like, yeah, cut it. Like, I don't give a shit. Like,
and then the security guard killed you.
Yeah, shove him. And we did end up doing it, and it went really well. But it was happening, I wasn't even upset because this wasn't like my baby of like, I'm a fan of Cardi B's, but it wasn't like I was like, had my heart set on like, oh my God, Cardi B's going to do my comedy today.
Yeah.
And she was so pissed off that it was just one of these like, yeah, don't fucking worry about it if you don't want to do it. But as it was happening, I was just really sitting there being like, well, I'm going to remember this for as long as I live. But like,
and then when they did it like on the show, it went
fine.
Smoothly. It went fine.
It was
and
totally
was she
fine.
like...
Yeah, she was
okay.
having fun and like laughing about it, and it went well, and it was totally
star
whatever.
quality there, you know?
Well, once you're in front of an audience like that and they're laughing, it's like, who cares? So it all worked out, but it was so funny to just just to watch her flipping through the script, you'll never immediately. You're like, yeah, nothing in there is good. So like, I don't, keep digging.
You're
but
like, I'm gonna prove you wrong, Cardi, when this starts airing live.
and it's gonna crush. These things I had to look up on Urban Dictionary to figure out what the fuck you were talking about, because I have no idea. That's really the failure of the bit.
That
was
is the
like
thing,
I would
yep.
often have to like text people I knew who like were more familiar with rap to be like, I don't know what they're talking about. It was so humiliating.
We do have to wrap it up, and if we must. But no, I do want to say I am free to write that segment.
Yeah.
Please. To do a little segment here at the very end. What's a piece of advice you would give to people in comedy, people starting out, people wanting to do comedy?
I always am very hesitant to give advice just because I feel like I could use some advice. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'm quite where I want to be all the time with, especially stand up lately and stuff. But, so I guess I'll just give some advice that I don't even adhere to. For me, I don't think it's necessarily about like grinding every day and like hitting all these mics and shows or whatever. But I do think the idea of really trying to write every day, I think, is a really valuable tool. Again, this is something I'm not so good at doing, partially because the job takes up a lot of my time doing it. I write for someone else all the time. But I think that's part of it, of like we were talking about, there's so many really funny comedians who don't write. And for whatever reason, they don't bother to do that, or they're funny enough without that, which is awesome. I wish I was that way. I really have to write stuff down. But I just think, especially in like the industry of comedy, I think you end up with a lot more opportunities in all sorts of different directions if you can just write a halfway decent whatever, a halfway decent monologue joke, a late night packet, a pilot script, a movie, a sketch, like whatever it is. Because you'll already be ahead of 50% of the people doing comedy if you're someone that can write at all well. And it really doesn't even have to be that good. That's the most important. It doesn't have to be so good. So I guess that would just be my advice: is be better than me. And everybody did.
My advice is take my job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let the people know.
Now I'll let them know that you can find me.
Yeah.
I'm at that Devin Field on Twitter, as long as it still exists.
Yeah.
Taping the little peek behind the curtain. We're taping this in November, the week, and it might be about to disappear.
It's going one day.
But you can find me there, and if that's down, you can find me on Instagram, which I guess I'll have to learn how to use.
That's beautiful. Get those reels going.
So, and you can get the reels going. I'll do some front-facing camera comedy. And I'm on an improv team called Yeti that performs once a month. It's like the first or second Sunday. They move us around at the Elysian Theater in LA. And we're also at the UCB we might be getting a regular slot there. So if I
Elliott, where can the people find you?
People can find me on all social media platforms at Grentradish, GRENTRADISH. Never, where do they find you?
Oh, me? Little me. I'm just at Arijana Ramic on all platforms. Easy enough. No Brett Radish here. So, yeah. And then everybody say up to Moki. Moki, where can people find you? It looks me like well, Sarah, thank you so much for everyone. It was wonderful time. Thank you. And we're out. Yeah? That's it.
We never locked that down.
I don't know.